episode 4 of Court and Three Dudes. I'm Chris Nema here, coming to you from lovely Peachtree Corners, Georgia. My co-hosts are on air with me. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, gentlemen.
This is Bernie, Chris Burnett from St. Mary's, Georgia, where we saw the sun today. I used my sunglasses for the first time since the end of July.
I'm Cord, 3-year Letterman.
Your daughter loves it when you bring that thing up about the 3-year Letterman. Goodness gracious. All right, well, let's go ahead and now go into what are you drinking? Cord, you want to start off this time?
Yeah, Cord, what you got? Oh, gee. No.
Look at this. A shout out to our new sponsor, Puffin Drinkware. Chris, when you're camping, you don't go naked around the campfire, do you?
No.
Why would you want your canned beverage of choice to be naked around the campfire? Why don't you dress it up and keep it cool? They got leather jackets, they got ski jackets, they got the buffalo check, they got polos, golf shirts, and what's the last one? Oh, hoodies. Even one for a special someone in your life. Go to puffindrinkware.com, mention 4th and 3 Dudes for a 10% discount at checkout. And thanks, Puffin, for all the free gimmies. Back to the show.
Back to the show. Well, what's inside of it? Are you just drinking?
What are you drinking?
Koozie?
It's French.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's hard stuff.
Yeah, and plus it hides what you're drinking from your friends, so they don't, make fun of you.
You're drinking French water.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, my cousin Kate actually asked me to ask you where she could get that. So,
well, good thing they sponsored us this week.
I'm very glad they're a sponsor.
I mean, I'm going to have to try to use that coupon code once we get off this broadcast. Goodness gracious!
It won't work.
You better hurry up. I think it's good for like 29 minutes.
What you got, Bernie?
Oh, I've got my Laughing Skull glass with the since we just beat Kentucky.
Apparently.
May as well.
Yeah.
Get
a little milk stout.
I'd say I got me a nice stein of some Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a fest beer this time. Well, I guess it's a fest beer, Oktoberfest, but it's solid. Sierra Nevada puts out one of the best commercially brewed ones of those that I've had in a long time. So I still think harken back to 2019 when it might be the best one, but they're pretty solid all around. But let's go ahead and get into some football. Speaking of football this past weekend, it was some tough games for the Dawgs and the Beavers. But let's go ahead and start off with the Georgia game because there's just a whole lot of tears about the Beaver game, but we'll get to that in a minute. So what do you think some of the bright spots were from the game this past weekend, Bernie?
They won.
Well, the bright spots was the defense. I mean, they played lights out. They held to field goals when we needed it, and that's what the offense had to do. That's what they needed, because they were slow starting. So the defense, special teams,
Meatloaf.
We had a special guest. Guess somebody else going to join the show?
What is she doing back there?
4, 3 dudes and a friend. but anyway.
Thorson had 3 punts inside the 20, and we made the field goals with Woodring, and it was not the game we expected, but it's a game we needed.
Yeah, definitely was not the game we expected. But anything that you can touch on, Cord, about the game, or?
Yeah, it was frustrating. It was. I mean, had Kentucky had more time or managed their time better at the end, they were 2 completions away and a field goal from winning.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, again, but one of the most interesting parts again with the defense. Kentucky crossed 50-yard line and ran 29 offensive plays, but they only netted 38 total yards. So it was kind of a bend but don't break kind of mentality by them a little bit. But the one thing that bothered me the most, I think, was the whole the penalties. We had a whole lot of penalties at inopportune times, but converted some first downs for Kentucky where we would have been off the field. But anyway, sorry.
Some of them were not earned. I mean, the Jalon Walker, I mean, he was lights out, and
Yes.
the roughing the passer penalty. I mean, just because a quarterback's helmet hits the ground, that doesn't warrant a penalty. But I can see in real time, maybe through the flag. But I mean that kid was great in a game we needed him because the defensive line was really depleted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are down a lot of people. At least 3 or 4 on the defensive line that are out and missing time.
Yeah. Ingram Dawkins won the SEC Kobe Defensive Lineman of the Week, and he earned every bit of that. He was just, they're taking reps on reps on reps, and that's just hard week to week. Yeah,
I think him and Nazir Stackhouse and a couple of other ones. That's what Kirby was saying. I mean, they played 50+ snaps. They were in there a long time, but yeah, they held up really well. And then I guess the other thing, we had some really good work by the secondary tackling as well with who was it? It was Malachi Starks and Dalen Everett had 8 tackles each, leading the Dogs for tackles. Which, I mean, again, it's good they're making the tackles, but of course you don't necessarily want your DBs being your leading tacklers.
Right.
But
not ideal, but I mean, that'll get better. We'll get a better rotation on the defensive front. We're settled at linebacker, and we're going to get Michael Williams back, and that's going to be huge. He's going to be rested for Bama. So there's help coming, and I think it was impressive the way defense played exactly when we needed them to step up and take over a game, and that's what they did for 4 quarters. I mean, the offense was there for 1.5, 2 quarters in the second half, but the defense was there, and the special teams were there for the whole game.
Yeah, no, they definitely were. I mean, Dominic Lovett made some good catches there at the end. Had that big catch on the final drive to help get us out of the shadow of our end zone and keep the drive going to get to the point where we could almost run the clock completely out. But yeah, I mean, it is always nerve-wracking when you get the ball back to the other team and when they only need a field goal to get you.
Yeah, and that happened too often because the offense just had no rhythm. And I put this on the blog today is just, a lot of people want to lay this at Boa's feet, and it was a very vanilla offensive scheme for the game. But if you go back and rewatch the game, there's a number of times, several times, that Beck had a chance to, audible into a pass, a screen specifically, and we ran into a 7-man box, and that's just not going to work. So there's something about Beck that just was off, and we just didn't. He didn't have the mojo that we're used to seeing because Stetson could audible at the line of scrimmage. The mic goes off this year at 15 seconds, and Carson's on his own, and we just trust him to go to it, and he just didn't have it Saturday night. It just didn't happen. So it took a while to get into groove, and eventually he made some throws, and I'm not as worried as a lot of the Dog fans, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Earlier in the season, Chris, Bernie, you mentioned somebody was playing with their food, and that's what it felt like to me. And then it was like, well, okay, second half we'll make our adjustments, and then we'll start pulling away. And then when that didn't happen, it was like, Ralphie's brother in the Christmas Carol when he didn't want to eat his meatloaf, and the old man, like Kirby Smart, was getting pissed, and he's going to open his mouth and shove it right in there. When what's worse is Farkas, the quarterback for Kentucky, on the other side, was throwing twice as many first downs as Georgia was, and that was a close one.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's good they came out with a win, and something like that might be more beneficial throughout the season.
Yeah, especially in going to the bye week ahead of Tuscaloosa. I mean, I think this is a perfect storm for Kirby to really chew some ass this week and really grind. And iron sharpens iron, and we'll get to it.
Yeah. I mean, again, like in his post-game comments, like he was talking about, I mean, he saw a lot of character. He saw the culture of the team. where people stepped up and were leaders when they needed to be in different areas. Where, I mean, again, in a blowout, it's pretty easy to do a lot of things, but I mean, when you're in those really tough games and when you're having to slog through them like we were, I mean, which it seems like we're always having to do against Kentucky when we're there in Lexington. I mean,
every freaking year.
I mean, we didn't have the weather to blame this time, which was the crazy thing. Like, well, it was 2 years ago, and it was one of the coldest games the Dogs have played in forever. And then, but I mean, again, the 3 lowest offensive outputs on the or point wise, at least on the road, have been against Kentucky in 2020 and 2022, and then now again in 2024. It's just something about going there. I don't know if it's the bourbon and everything else or what's going on, but I mean, it's just going into Lexington seems to have some kind of the voodoo, like it used to be we used to be going into Columbia, South Carolina when we played them back when Spurrier was.
Yeah, I think it goes back to Stoops. I mean, Stoops has great interior linemen, and they had a great defensive game plan, and our offensive line just wasn't. They never got in sync in terms of blocking and the exterior blocking, the downfield blocking. I mean, there was a play where Lovett and Delp, who usually is like on point in terms of blocking downfield, and they both whiffed on a screen pass that would have gone for at least 10 yards. And so, I mean, Stoops he's a great coach, and he has his linemen ready to play. I mean, he doesn't always have the athletic players on the edge, but he has a defensive line and offensive line that comes ready to play. And they learned from that South Carolina game. That was not indicative of them. So I expect them to compete going forward. And we weren't ready.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, Kirby said that, like you said, we got the 2 weeks to be able to work on things. And it did. It gave them a lot of things to look at. So having those and having 2 weeks time, I mean, granted, Bama has their bye week as well, but I mean, Kirby's shown in the past when he's had one of these situations like Auburn last year and Kentucky the year before. I mean, again, you have one of those and he's able to find a way to use that to, again, get everybody back on the right page and hopefully start rowing the boat back the right direction, make it a little more seamless kind of work.
Yeah, you're right. There are games that before that Missouri a couple years ago where we were lagging behind and I just didn't feel like we were going to lose. I still felt like we were going to come back, but this game is a little bit different. I mean, when the halftime, I'm like, this is different. So there's a little uneasiness there, but I'm like you said, I'm glad Kirby has an off week to kind of get everybody back on track and ready for Tuscaloosa and really the gauntlet that we have as a schedule.
Yeah, goodness gracious. That schedule we got coming up is not
ridiculous.
I mean, all the years they talked about how easy our schedule's been, I guess they decided this was the year to flip it back and
to get to us.
I know. But I guess going back to what you were talking about with the offensive line, I guess one of the biggest things obviously was Tate Ratledge. What did you hear about what happened with him today?
Well, he sprained his knee and his ankle, and I thought it wouldn't be too bad, but he did have tightrope surgery today. So he's, as we know from last year with Brock was kind of ahead of the curve, kind of the outlier. Came back in 3 weeks. I don't expect that with Tate. He's built different. It's going to take a little more time. So I was hoping to get him back in 4 weeks, but I'd be happy to get him back in early November at this point. So we'll just have to see how that progresses.
Yeah. I mean, we got a little bit more depth at offensive line, though, don't we? I mean, definitely more than we had at defensive line.
We do. Just need to have some reps together and kind of a cohesiveness that we didn't see Saturday night. We have to get that back.
Yeah. But, again, I guess some of the other things, I mean, from the game, again, losing the time of possession like we did, it seemed like Kentucky was on the field the whole dang night. But I think Cord alluded to the fact that they got almost twice as many first downs as we did. But
yep.
But anyway, I mean, talking to some of the other good things about the game, I mean, Georgia's still streaking. I mean, they broke the tie with Bama for the most consecutive SEC regular season wins to move to 29. So, which is funny having that happen before we go in and play Bama. So, but also what? 42?
And the fact that we lost to Bama in the SEC championship game. It's still a conference game, but
Yeah.
that's dotting I's across T's, I guess.
Yeah. 15 consecutive wins against Kentucky, and apparently we got an FBS leading streak of 16 wins in an opponent's home stadium too. So, but or on the road. So anyway, and still Thorson still hadn't allowed a punt return in forever. I mean, goodness gracious,
He's a monster.
But so what's go ahead. What did you say?
He's an Aussie. He's an Aussie. Shouted easily.
Yeah, but anyway, all right. Well, I guess we've got to start talking about the Oregon State game. Cord?
I got to do it. Cord.
Yeah, our
rip the Band-Aid.
I know our one listener is a Beaver fan, so I'll be brief. The Beaver fans showed up in force, but unfortunately, so did the Oregon team. It was a good old-fashioned Okie stomp, and that was not the same Oregon team that almost lost the first two games of their season in the fourth quarter. Our D-line couldn't put any pressure on the quarterback. As the first two games, he had 7 sacks. Our DBs couldn't stop the pass. Run game wasn't like it was. But bright side, baby Brock Bowers hit his number as far as on prize picks. 8 receipts for 70 yards. Hopefully, they should be able to bounce back against Purdue at home this weekend. They are a 5-point favorite.
Gotcha.
Purdue got crushed last week by Notre Dame, 66-7.
Crushed. More than crushed.
Man, Notre Dame had to take that out on somebody. So Purdue just happened to be there. I hope they brought that giant drum with them. But goodness gracious. I mean, I guess that was one of the things they were talking about in that we were watching the game together or whatever. But I mean, the Dylan Gabriel, I guess, he was trying to learn that system when he got to Oregon. It had been a little bit rough, and they tried to dumb it down. Well, not dumb it down, just tried to, I guess, narrow the playbook down a little bit. And man, did it sure work for him. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, he was a monster.
They didn't do that ukulele down there in Florida FSU.
I don't think
Beaver
Portal jinx. Beaver Portal jinx for sure.
Keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
Yep. But yeah, so I mean, I guess then that's probably enough about that Oregon State game.
Pac-12.
Yes.
We're back, baby.
What about the Pac-12? So yeah,
the game back together. As soon as we dropped our last show, and I said we're trying to head to the Big 12, and the Pac-12 would be too hard to get back together. Sure enough, behind my back, they're sneaking around, signing all these applications. And then Boise State, Fresno State, San Diego State, and Colorado State all submit applications. So those will be approved. So get up to 6, and at least 8 within 2 years to be to still be the Pac-12. So they are shopping around. A lot of rumors. Cal and Stanford from the ACC. Who knows? Tulane and Memphis. UNLV. UT San Antonio and Texas State if they want to go to Texas.
They probably got the lead on it since they got state in their name along with everybody else. Goodness gracious. How can you have so many state teams in?
I know. San Diego, last time I was there, San Diego wasn't a state.
Well, that's in their name.
Fresno.
But I mean, but they got state in their name. So I mean, again, you just got to slap that on the end of it, and so yeah.
And you're in the Pac-12.
I know.
And then as soon as the ACC crumbles, then the Pac-12 will slip right into that number 4 college football playoff spot.
There you go.
Yep. Oh,
the
man.
Sham conference.
Speaking of, again, going back to DJ Ukulele, man, they're 0-3 now. Whew. Goodness gracious. Who they lose to this week was my boys at Memphis. Hey, I told you not to sleep on Memphis.
See, they might be joining the Pac-12.
Hey, but they joined the Pac-12.
Cousin Kate. Yeah, I mean, Memphis, they look solid. I mean, I do a weekly update on the national landscape for college playoffs, and I'm always looking at Memphis, now Toledo, NIU, in terms of that group of 5 pick for the playoffs, and now Memphis is solidly in there, but it's just FSU. So when can we say that before? I mean, it's just FSU.
Does the Pac-12 in its current configuration count as a group of 5?
No, they need
the Pac-2.
2 more.
Okay. I didn't know if it counted for. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that, Court. I'm talking about for like this year, since they were still allowed to be the Pac-12. Is like, I mean, again, how do y'all determine your conference championship?
Well, it's gonna be a tough one because we'll be playing Washington State, and they're pretty good. I think they have a 24% chance of making the college football playoffs right now.
Yeah,
Really?
I think
Probably
they
an
could.
80% chance of winning the whole conference championship. Bitches. I told you that guy was good. I've been saying that for 3 weeks.
You have,
Yeah. And you've been right.
You were definitely
We should
right.
listen to you.
Man,
It's okay. You know what? Good thing my shoulders are broad.
Going to the other team in Florida, or one of the other teams in Florida. Ooh, Napier. I mean,
Sign
again,
him to a long-term contract, please.
yes.
You should send him NIL money to stay.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Yeah. Can we contribute to that? I mean,
As long as it's not state money.
Yeah, let's be fair. He inherited a team that Mullen did not recruit well, and he has done better with recruiting. But we on our staff we have a quarterback who is currently suing Florida because they guaranteed certain money that when he got to the campus they didn't have.
Right.
So
Oops.
they are a dumpster fire, and I just hope it continues for many, many years.
Keep burning. Throw some tires in there, Bernie.
Well, again, how about them calling having the board of whatever at the school, they called the meeting to make sure that everybody knew they had been able to gather and raise the money to be able to buy Napier out, but they just weren't going to do it quite yet. So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, the fans are ahead of the administration down there, but
how long has he been there?
This is third year.
This is his third year.
Yeah.
So, and he hasn't done what he needed to do, but Mullen didn't do him any favors. So, it's a matter of time.
Maybe he'll get a gig on the CW.
Yep, CW, man. That's where the players play. But
Texas looks strong.
Yeah, Texas did. They did. They lost their quarterback to the oblique injury, and then Arch Manning comes in. And then
5 TDs coming off the bench, 262 yards.
Yep.
And then he ran one in.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the 5. He had 4 passing touchdowns, I believe, and the 1 running touchdown. But I mean, I saw them all talk about. You can tell he was not Peyton's or Eli's child with the way he was able to run. So
he's Cooper's.
Yeah, I know, but they said Peyton and Eli never ran any further than 5 yards. So I mean, they knew that it wasn't his kid, but
it's Cooper's genes.
Archie used to run like all over the place.
Yes, he did. But Bama, of course, went up into the house of pain and were able to just deliver the pain, not have to worry too much about it. Granted, Wisconsin lost their quarterback early in that game, but I mean, again. But
that's a concern because we did not contain Brock Kendrick, and he ran for some yards at Jalen Milroe. I mean, he can turn it on. So that's something that Kirby's got to address during the practices this week and get ready for Bama and Tuscaloosa because we got to contain that guy some way somehow.
Yeah. I mean, again, this was also the first time that I can remember in quite a while that we seemed to let the offensive players get to the second level a little bit more, which again leads to why Malachi and Everett had more tackles. But I mean, that's the first time I've seen people break through the first tackle in quite a while. I mean, that's been one of the hallmarks of Georgia's defense is that if somebody gets their hands on you, you're going down and more people are rallying to you. But it seemed like they were able to get through the first tackle more times than I would have expected from a Georgia defense. But yeah, we got to turn that thing around this week for sure. But I guess the one other game that we didn't have in our show notes that was a good one to talk about was that South Carolina LSU game.
Oh boy,
man, goodness gracious! I was so hoping South Carolina was going to pull that thing off at the end, but they just got unlucky. Some crazy penalties, and of course losing their starting quarterback. I mean, I think if he had stayed in the game, I think it would have been a different story too. But
Well, hell, if the guy didn't punch the quarterback to the ground when he threw the interception,
yeah,
I mean, they'd have won the game. They had him won. I mean,
oh no,
Details,
for sure.
details.
it's just
Details.
that was a crazy game. It's like a dumpster fire that you just couldn't turn your eyes away from. It was just beautiful.
I mean, it was. I mean, a great game to start off the weekend with, for sure. But but then South Carolina having the chance to kick that field goal to force overtime, and man, he barely missed that thing too. He looked nervous.
Yeah.
I've not seen a kicker look that nervous to get up there and kick. It's like it was his first kick ever for some reason. But anyway, it was. So I guess when we're talking about some of these things, I guess we could go back and talk about our picks and our locks of the week last week. How did that turn out?
Oh yeah. So,
How'd that turn out?
So Cord is on the lane train, so he moved up to 3-0 because Ole Miss covered. Nama had the Beavers. So
I told you.
I drank the Kool-Aid. I drank the Kool-Aid. I shouldn't have done
You
it.
failed at 2-1 where you're joining me because I moved up because Texas A&M took care of business. They were my lock of the week. So Cord 3-0, Name and I 2-1. That's where we stand this week.
Well, going into this week, then I guess Cord, since you're the leader in the clubhouse.
Wait. Ole Miss. How come Wake Forest called and canceled the game next year?
They don't want none of that.
They bring down a bag of cash. Say, Lane, we're good.
Nice.
But if Lane's got an open spot next year, hey Lane, if you're listening, the Beavers would love to do some damage to those trees in the grove. They got nothing else to do.
Man.
Hey, fun fact: Ole Miss is the first team in SEC history to score 150 points in the first 3 games and allow less than 10.
Against teams,
against FBS teams.
Some of them you've heard of.
11 versus 11. Anything can happen. All right, pick of the week. Who do you guys got?
I told you to go first. You're the leader in the clubhouse, so might as well lead us out.
So there's a lot of good stuff going on. I like Syracuse over Stanford. Wazoo 11.5 over San Jose. Ohio State, just because they're jerks, they like to run up the score, over Marshall. Cal FSU. I think Beavers will do it against Purdue. Ole Miss will win. USC over Michigan, but my lock is going to be Rocky Top. 7.5 over Oklahoma.
Where's it? That's in Oklahoma, right? We're at Oklahoma.
Yep, Oklahoma. That's one I was looking at.
They're firing on everything right now. Oklahoma beat Temple. They struggled against Houston. They won by 4 points, and then they beat Tulane by 2 touchdowns.
Nice. What you thinking, Bernie?
I was looking at Tennessee, but I also like Auburn -3 against Arkansas. But I think I'm going to go with Cal at FSU getting 10.5 points. They take that money line. But my question, the one that really stands out, I was telling Cord pregame, UCLA is getting 25 points at LSU.
I know. That's what I was just looking at.
How does
is somebody hurt? Is it the quarterback hurt or something?
I mean, I feel like that's a trick. So I may bet on that, but I'm going to go Cal plus 2.5 against FSU in Tallahassee.
Or FSU.
Goodness gracious! All right, well,
they're like the Michigan of Florida.
They're like the Michigan of Florida. Oh my goodness! Speaking of Michigan, they're playing against USC. USC's getting 6, or no, giving 6. That one being interesting.
Who you got, Nama?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I mean, again, the Michigan USC game
is
a
good.
You down. What?
Gotta write you down.
You get your pen and your hat.
Nice. But I mean, again, I'm thinking Missouri. I'm going to take Missouri. They're giving up 20.5 points, but I think they're going to step up on Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's still reeling from their loss against Georgia State this weekend. I mean, they were going on their way to bowl eligibility, but they stumbled, and I think they're going to stumble even further. I think Missouri and Drinkowitz is going to right the ship themselves and go ahead and step up and beat Vanderbilt this weekend.
I don't
Lock
have
it
it
in.
on my book. I have that book. So Missouri's what? Minus what?
Missouri is minus 20.5.
20.5. Wow.
20.5,
That's
man.
That's only 3
Hey,
touchdowns,
Vandy?
Bernie.
That's 3 touchdowns. They got this. They're gonna Brady Cook's gonna flex Luther Burden, Weiss, all them. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm just glad Core didn't pick the lane train again. I mean, they got Georgia Southern
Well,
coming to the Grove.
I had to be a little diverse in equity and inclusion. I wanted to spread the wealth, so I went up north to Tennessee.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Well, since it's not a tailgating weekend and not a home game, actually no, it's record. But
It is for me.
I'm sorry, dude. My bad.
We're going to the Grove this weekend.
You are going to the Grove. That's right. So
I got to wear baby blue. No, powder blue. I got to wear powder blue. So I might have to wear like a Sears.
Oh, is it powder blue?
Powder blue day.
Those uniforms are money. Money.
So have y'all already figured out your tailgate down there, or what y'all going to do?
Yep.
You going to expand? I mean, again, that's what the people want. They want to know what is Cord going to be having at his tailgate.
Yep, we got 3 tents. So when I get there, I'll let you know what's there.
So okay. So in other words,
I know we got 3 different tents.
Okay. But you're definitely not in charge of the menu then, apparently.
No, I'm just in charge of making sure we got 3 tents. But they're not my tents.
Gotcha. All right. Hey, that's the way to go then. So you got anything going on this weekend, Bernie?
No, just gonna watch some games and piddle around the house, and the Dogs will go undefeated.
Nice. And we got a low country bowl we're going to be doing down at the swim tennis that somehow I got put halfway in charge of. Somehow I always end up being the one cooking, but oh well. Good times.
No.
Well, I can't. I mean, it's Mark. It's Mark V. So I mean, again. Oh wait, a friend of the show.
Mark's a good guy.
A friend of the show. So, but anyway, he wrote me into it. But yeah, again, I think he wrangles all the ingredients and they end up being the one cooking it. But his son's band is going to be playing, so that could be a fun time. So, but we're going to be doing it down at the pool is closed, but we get in, we get the pavilions and all that kind of stuff. So it should be a good time. So, but anyway,
nice.
All right. Well, hopefully everybody has a good week and the Beavers win, and then of course Ole Miss manages to find a way to beat out another worthy opponent.
35 points.
So. We'll come back to you next week and talk a little bit about Georgia rolling into Tuscaloosa. But yeah, until then, go ahead and raise a glass and go
Shout
down.
out to our 1 subscriber. And if you like the podcast,
hey, Mom.
If you don't like the podcast, hit it twice.
All right.
How do I hang this up?
Have a good one. See you.
Just shut it.